The first mistake I made wasn't trusting Sarah. It was believing that 8 years of my consistency, my money, and my commitment were a worthwhile investment in her. It was a lie built on cheap wood, and I was the foreman who signed off on the faulty inspection. The sound of the doorbell ringing that Friday afternoon wasn't a chime. It was the entire structure collapsing around me. I thought I knew my wife. After 8 years of marriage, I believed Sarah and I had something real, something built on trust, shared dreams, and genuine love. We'd talked about kids early on, but Sarah always said she wasn't ready, and eventually the conversation just died. I worked long hours in construction management, building what I thought was our comfortable life together. 3 years into our marriage, Sarah quit her marketing job. She said she was burned out, wanted to focus on herself, and figure out what she really wanted to do, she explained one evening over dinner. I supported the decision without question. My business was doing well enough to carry both of us. I thought a happy wife meant a happy life. Sarah filled her days with yoga classes, book clubs, spa appointments, and long lunches with friends. She'd greet me at the door with a smile, ask about my day, share stories about her latest hobby. We still went out to dinner, still took weekend trips, still made love regularly. If anything had changed, I couldn't see it. 3 weeks ago, Sarah announced she needed a break. "I've been feeling stuck," she said over breakfast, not meeting my eyes. "Like our marriage has fallen into this routine. I love you, Jake, but I feel like I'm losing myself." Her college friend Monica lived in Miami now and had suggested a girls' trip, just the two of them, Thursday to Sunday. I felt that familiar stab of guilt. Maybe I'd been working too much. "How long?" I asked. 4 days. Monica found this amazing resort, she replied, her voice gaining enthusiasm. I booked her flight that afternoon, paid for the hotel myself. Sarah kissed my forehead when I handed her the confirmation emails. "You're the best husband," she said warmly. "I'm so lucky." Thursday morning, I drove her to the airport. Sarah was practically glowing, more excited than I'd seen her in months. At the departure gate, she threw her arms around me. "I love you so much," she whispered. "Thank you for understanding." I watched her disappear through security, feeling oddly optimistic. Maybe this trip was exactly what our marriage needed. Friday afternoon, I was catching up on emails when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-30s, brown hair, mascara streaked down her cheeks. She was clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Is your wife Sarah?" she asked, her voice cracking when I opened the door. "Yes. Who's asking?" I replied cautiously. She started crying then, full-body sobs. "My name is Rachel Foster," she managed between tears. "My husband Derek told me he was going to a work conference in Miami. But I found messages, photos, hotel reservations. He's been sleeping with your wife for 6 months." The world stopped. I stared at this stranger on my doorstep, trying to process what she'd just said. "Can I show you?" she asked desperately. I stepped aside without a word. She sat on my couch and turned her phone toward me. Derek Foster. The name meant nothing to me. But the messages were devastating. Flirty texts dating back months. Explicit selfies from Sarah in lingerie I'd never seen. Photos of Derek that made my stomach turn. "Look at the dates," Rachel whispered. The timestamps matched Sarah's trip perfectly. They'd been planning this for weeks. The messages talked about finally getting away together, about not having to hide anymore. Then Rachel showed me the booking confirmation. The Fontainebleau Miami Beach, presidential suite, booked under Derek Foster's name, Thursday through Sunday, the exact dates as Sarah's girls' trip. Rachel scrolled to another message from Sarah. "I can't wait to wake up next to you without having to lie anymore. Just 3 more days." I read that message 3 times. Sarah, my Sarah, who'd called me the best husband, couldn't wait to wake up next to another man. The shock crystallized into something cold and focused. I looked at Rachel and felt oddly calm. "They come back on Sunday," I said quietly. Let's make sure they never forget it. Rachel and I spent Friday night and all of Saturday working like intelligence operatives. We weren't friends. We were two people united by the same betrayal. Rachel brought her laptop. I pulled up Sarah's iCloud account on mine. She'd never changed the password from our honeymoon. Sarah Jake, 2016. What we found was devastating. Months of messages between Sarah and Derek, a complete chronicle of their affair. It wasn't just sex. They were building a fantasy life together, planning a future that included leaving their spouses. Sarah's messages were the worst part. She didn't just betray me, she mocked me, called me predictable and boring, joked about how clueless I was, how I worked like a good little ATM while she figured out her real life. In one brutal exchange, Derek asked what she'd tell me if I got suspicious. Sarah's response, "Jake's too trusting. He just wants me to be happy. I could probably tell him I'm having an affair, and he'd ask if there's anything I need from the store." I read that message sitting in my kitchen and felt something fundamental shift inside me. The man who'd driven his wife to the airport, who'd felt guilty about working too much, that man was gone. Rachel found financial records. Derek had been paying for Sarah's spa days, her yoga classes, even shopping trips. My wife had been living off another man's money while I paid the mortgage, utilities, groceries. "What do you want to do?" Rachel asked Saturday afternoon, looking up from her laptop. I thought about confronting Sarah privately when she returned, giving her a chance to grovel and beg forgiveness. But I kept thinking about those messages, about how easily she lied to my face, about how she'd called me an ATM. "I'm not giving her a chance to spin this," I said finally. "I want witnesses. I want consequences that stick." Rachel nodded grimly. "Airport confrontation?" "Something better," I replied, the plan forming as I spoke. "You play along with Derek. Act like you don't know anything. I'll do the same with Sarah. Then, Monday night, I invite both couples over for dinner. They won't know the other couple is coming until they're face-to-face in my living room." "Public detonation," she said, understanding immediately. "Complete destruction. In front of family, friends, witnesses," I confirmed. I contacted a divorce attorney Saturday evening and started preparing paperwork. I quietly moved money from our joint accounts into a new account in my name only. I changed passwords on everything. I called my parents, Sarah's parents, and my two closest friends from work. Told them I needed everyone at my house Monday night for an important family announcement. Sunday morning, I cleaned the house, bought wine and appetizers for Monday's dinner party, got a haircut, went to the gym. To anyone watching, I looked like a man preparing for a pleasant evening. Inside, I was building the stage for my wife's complete downfall. I installed a hidden security camera in the living room. I wanted documentation of their faces when the truth came out. Rachel texted regular updates. Derek was acting normal, completely oblivious. 24 hours from now, Sarah's entire world would implode. She'd learn that actions have consequences, that the boring, predictable husband she'd been mocking was capable of things she never imagined. Sunday evening, Sarah's flight landed on time. I stood at baggage claim, playing the devoted husband picking up his wife after her transformative weekend. When Sarah appeared at the top of the escalator, my breath caught despite everything I knew. She looked incredible, tanned and glowing, wearing a white sundress I'd never seen before. She was radiant in the way only a woman who'd spent 4 days being worshipped by a lover could be. "Baby!" she called out, running toward me and throwing her arms around my neck, kissing me full on the lips. She tasted like lies. "How was it?" I asked, playing my part perfectly. Sarah launched into her carefully rehearsed story as we walked to baggage claim. "The resort was amazing," she gushed. "The spa treatments were life-changing. Monica and I talked for hours about life, love, marriage. I did some serious soul-searching and realized how grateful I am to have a supportive husband. I missed you so much," she continued, squeezing my arm. "Being away made me appreciate what we have." Every word was poison wrapped in silk. I nodded and asked follow-up questions about restaurants, excursions. Sarah answered with practiced ease, showing me photos on her phone. Beaches, cocktails, sunsets with Monica, all carefully curated. No sign of Derek, though I knew he was in every location, just outside the frame. At home, Sarah unpacked while I made drinks. She pulled out new clothes, a designer purse she hadn't left with, expensive skincare products. Monica insisted I treat myself, she explained when she saw me looking at the purse. You don't mind, do you? I used the credit card. Of course not. You deserve nice things, I replied smoothly. The credit card connected to my account, $700 at Nordstrom, lingerie, perfume, and the sundress she wore now. All bought for Derek, paid for by me. Sarah settled onto the couch, immediately pulling out her phone. I knew she was texting Derek. I could see every message on the laptop in my office. She was telling him she missed him already, that being back in this house felt suffocating. I have some news, I said casually, sitting beside her. I invited a few people over tomorrow night. Your parents, my parents, Tom and Mike from work. Sarah looked up from her phone, slightly annoyed. Tomorrow? Jake, I just got back. I'm exhausted. It's already planned, I replied. Everyone's excited to see you. She forced a smile. Okay, sure. That sounds nice. She went back to her phone, typing rapidly. On my laptop, I watched her message Derek. Stuck doing dinner with the in-laws tomorrow. Can we meet Tuesday? I need you. That night, Sarah initiated sex. It was enthusiastic, almost performative, probably guilt or maintaining her cover. I went through with it, detached and mechanical. This woman who'd shared a bed with another man for 4 days was now whispering how much she'd missed me. Afterward, she fell asleep on my chest, completely at peace. I stared at the ceiling, feeling nothing for her. The woman I'd married was gone, or maybe she'd never existed. I slipped out of bed and checked my phone. Rachel had texted, Derek's asleep. He has no idea. Are you ready for tomorrow? I typed back, everything's set. Don't back out. I won't, she replied immediately. Time he learned what betrayal feels like. They both will, I answered. Monday morning, Sarah was in an excellent mood. She hummed while getting dressed, talked about calling Monica to plan another trip. I reminded her about dinner, mentioned I'd invited one additional couple she hadn't met, Rachel and Derek Foster. Sarah's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Foster? I don't think I know them, she said carefully. You will tonight, I replied. The trap was set. My living room had never felt so small. Sarah's parents sat confused on the love seat, her mother clutching her purse nervously. My parents occupied the couch, Mom worrying aloud about whether someone was sick. Tom and Mike stood near the kitchen with beers, exchanging glances that said they were ready for whatever was coming. Rachel sat alone in the corner armchair, pale as death in her black dress. When I'd introduced her as Derek Foster's wife, Sarah had gone white around the edges but managed to shake her hand politely. Sarah paced between the kitchen and living room, playing hostess but moving like a caged animal. Where's Derek? She asked for the third time. You said 7 o'clock. He'll be here, I assured her calmly. At 7:15, the doorbell rang. Sarah moved toward the door out of habit, then froze when she realized what was about to happen. I walked past her and opened the door myself. Derek Foster stood there in pressed khakis and a button-down, holding a bottle of wine, wearing the confident smile of a man who thought he was networking. Jake? Derek Foster. Thanks for the invite, man, he said, extending his hand. Come in, Derek. We've been waiting for you, I replied, stepping aside. He entered my living room and his smile evaporated instantly. The first thing he saw was Sarah, frozen by the kitchen doorway like a deer in headlights. Then his eyes found Rachel in the corner, and all color drained from his face. I closed the door with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot in the sudden silence. Sit down, Derek, I said quietly. I think there's been some kind of mistake. he began. Sit. Down. My voice was controlled but carried enough menace that Derek sank into the nearest chair without another word. I walked to the TV and picked up the remote. My laptop was connected, the slideshow ready. Before we begin, I announced to the room, I want everyone to understand what you're about to see. 3 days ago, Rachel came to my door with some disturbing information about our spouses. We spent the weekend investigating, and what we found was illuminating. I clicked play. The first slide filled the screen. A text message from Sarah to Derek, dated 2 months ago. Can't stop thinking about last night. Jake worked late again. We could have more nights like that if you want. Sarah's mother gasped audibly. Her father's jaw went rigid. My mother started crying silently. I advanced to the next slide, a photo of Derek and Sarah on a Miami beach, Derek's arm around her waist, both laughing. The timestamp read, Thursday, 3:47 p.m. 6 months, I said, my voice steady as granite. 6 months of planning, 6 months of lying to both our faces. The slides continued. Hotel receipts, explicit messages, conversations where Sarah called me boring and referred to our marriage as her safety net until something better came along. Derek tried to interrupt. This isn't what it looks like, he stammered. Shut up, Rachel said, her voice ice cold as she stood. You told me you were at a work conference. You told me you loved me. You spent $4,000 on that hotel suite, our down payment money. I clicked to Sarah's Friday morning message. Best 4 days of my life. I can't believe I wasted 8 years pretending to be happy with someone who just works and expects gratitude. The room erupted. Sarah's father stood up, his face purple with rage. Sarah Elizabeth, what the hell is wrong with you? He shouted. Sarah finally found her voice. This is... Jake, please, let me explain. This isn't... She pleaded desperately. Explain what? I turned to face her fully. Explain how you've been f***ing another man for 6 months? Explain how you used my money to buy lingerie for your boyfriend? Explain how you called me an ATM behind my back? I pulled a manila envelope from under a couch cushion and tossed it on the coffee table. Divorce papers. Filed this morning. You'll be served officially tomorrow, but I wanted you to know tonight, in front of everyone who matters. Derek finally found his voice. Rachel, baby, I can explain, he said, turning toward his wife. Don't, Rachel replied firmly. I already sent copies of everything to your HR department. Having an affair with a married woman during a company-funded business trip violates your ethics clause. Enjoy the termination meeting. I looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. I needed witnesses. I needed everyone who matters to know the truth before she has a chance to rewrite it, play the victim, or make me the villain in this story. Sarah looked up, mascara streaming down her face. Jake, please, we can work this out. We can go to counseling, she sobbed. There's nothing to work out, I replied coldly. You made your choice. You chose him. You chose lies. You chose to destroy our marriage for a fantasy. Now live with the consequences. I walked out to my back porch, leaving Sarah surrounded by the judgment of everyone who'd ever mattered to her. The cold night air hit my face like a blessing. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from pure adrenaline. Inside, I could hear voices. Sarah's father demanding answers. Rachel's calm recitation of facts. My mother asking my father to take her home. I lit a cigarette, the first one in 3 years, and looked up at the stars. It was done. The controlled demolition of Sarah's life took exactly 14 days. She moved out within 72 hours, her parents arriving Tuesday morning with a U-Haul and faces like stone. Her father wouldn't even look at her while loading boxes. Her mother kept apologizing to me, saying she'd raised Sarah better than this, that she was ashamed and heartbroken. This isn't your fault, I told her mother quietly. Some people are just broken in ways that don't show until it's too late. The divorce moved through the system like a freight train. My attorney, armed with 6 months of documented evidence, destroyed every argument Sarah's lawyer attempted. She tried to claim emotional distress, citing my public humiliation of her as grounds for alimony. Her own text messages, where she'd mocked our marriage and called me a walking paycheck, obliterated that strategy. Sarah got nothing except her personal belongings and the car that was in her name. Everything else stayed with me: the house, the savings, the investments, the furniture. Derek's destruction was swifter and more public. Rachel's evidence package landed on his boss's desk Monday morning. He was terminated by Wednesday. Within a week, word had spread through their professional network. LinkedIn became a graveyard. No one wanted to hire the guy who'd blown up 2 marriages and violated his employment contract. Sarah's social circle evaporated like morning mist. Her book club friends stopped calling. The yoga studio crowd went cold. Even Monica, her supposed best friend and alibi, distanced herself once the truth came out. Turns out Monica had known about Derek the whole time, had even covered for Sarah during previous rendezvous. Sarah tried reaching out twice, once through a mutual friend, once through a desperate 2 a.m. text, both times asking for closure, for a chance to explain, to apologize properly. I ignored both attempts. There's nothing left to explain. Closure is something guilty people seek to make themselves feel better. My life became quieter but not peaceful. I threw myself into work, taking on bigger projects, longer hours. My crew respected what I'd done, but they were also slightly wary. They'd seen what I was capable of when pushed beyond my limits. Women started approaching me, at the gym, through dating apps, even at work sites. Apparently being the guy who destroyed his cheating wife carried a certain appeal. I wasn't interested. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Rachel and I stayed in occasional contact, bonded by shared experience but not friendship. She was rebuilding her life with remarkable strength, going back to school, buying a smaller house, dating again. One night she texted, "Thank you for not letting me run away from this. I needed to see his face when everything collapsed." I didn't reply. She understood why. People asked if I felt guilty about the public nature of Sarah's humiliation. The answer was no. She'd humiliated me for 6 months, every time she kissed me goodbye before meeting Derek, every time she spent my money on their affair, every time she laughed with her friends about her clueless husband. The house felt different now. Quieter, but also cleaner somehow. The air itself seemed lighter without Sarah's constant lies polluting every room. 3 months after the Monday night massacre, I sat on my back porch with a beer, watching the sunset paint my backyard gold. The divorce was final. Sarah was living in a studio apartment across town, working at a call center. I thought about the man I'd been before all this, trusting, optimistic, believing in partnership and commitment. That version of Jake was gone, and I wasn't entirely sure if that was evolution or loss. Maybe both. But I was certain of one thing. I'd proven to myself that I wasn't the fool they'd thought I was. When pushed past my breaking point, I was capable of strategic, perfect revenge. 6 months have passed since that Monday night. The seasons changed from winter to spring to early summer, and life settled into a new rhythm. I've seen Sarah twice since then, both times by accident. Once at the grocery store, once at a gas station. Both times, I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just the mild recognition you might have seeing a stranger who looked familiar. People still ask how I'm doing. The question annoys me because it assumes I should be devastated, that destroying a cheating spouse should have broken me somehow. I'm not devastated, I told my friend Mike last week when he asked. I'm not broken. I'm just different. I bought new furniture for the house, not because I needed to erase Sarah's memory, but because I wanted things that were entirely mine. I date occasionally, women who approach me at work or the gym, but nothing serious. Most of them want to hear the story of how I caught Sarah, how I planned the confrontation, how it felt to watch her world implode. I don't tell it. That story belongs to me and the people who lived it. Rachel moved to Portland last month, fresh start with a new job. Her final text to me said simply, "Thank you for having the courage to act when I wanted to run. I'm happy now." I believed her. Some people deserve happiness after betrayal. I wonder sometimes if Sarah and Derek ever reconnected, if their affair survived the explosion, or if it died in the wreckage like everything else. But these are idle curiosities, not obsessions. Sarah's future isn't my concern anymore. The house is quiet in the evenings, but it's comfortable quiet. I read more now, work on projects I'd put off during the marriage years, travel when I want without negotiating schedules or preferences. I've discovered I like my own company. I've learned to trust my instincts again. Last week, a coworker asked if I missed being married. It was a fair question from someone who didn't know the whole story. "I miss what I thought I had," I told him honestly. "But what I thought I had never existed. That's the truth of it. I'd been married to an illusion, a performance, a woman who played the role of loving wife while planning her escape route. The real Sarah had been there all along. I just hadn't wanted to see her. The revenge didn't heal me. It didn't make me whole or restore my faith in love or teach me profound lessons about forgiveness. What it did was restore my self-respect. It proved that I wouldn't be discarded quietly, that my trust and devotion had value even if Sarah couldn't see it. Some nights, sitting on this porch with a beer and the crickets for company, I think about the man I was 8 years ago. Younger, more naive, but also more hopeful. That man believed in forever, in partnership, in the possibility that two people could build something lasting together. I'm not that man anymore. Maybe that's a loss. Maybe it's wisdom. Probably it's both. What I know for certain is this. I sleep well at night. I look at myself in the mirror each morning without shame or regret. When people meet me now, they see exactly who I am. No pretense, no performance, no lies. Sarah taught me that love without honesty is worthless, that trust, once broken completely, can't be repaired, that some betrayals are so fundamental they change you at a cellular level. But I taught her something too, that actions have consequences, that cruelty has a price, that the quiet, predictable husband she'd mocked was capable of perfect, devastating justice. In the end, we both got exactly what we deserved. The difference is, I can live with what I earned.